Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello everyone, hi Gertrude. Greetings from Bulgaria, Europe. I'm Julika Novkova and I'm 39 years old. Thank you for being here to support my short story, a story that discovers how my greatest power became actually my greatest weakness at some point of my life. My entire life, I've been the everyday hero. I've been raised and trained to help people, support people, take care of others. This naturally grew into my professional background. As a business consultant, as a psychologist, I always care about people. By 19, I was fascinated by the idea that I have to master the art of being the second in the relationship. And that became the foundation of how I connect and how I nurture relations. Being from a modest background, having low privileges in my family, pushed me to learn lessons from life that naturally grew my roles, my self perception, and my identity. I'm a strong person. I need to learn to work harder. Compared to my peers, I always had to work harder in order to achieve and to thrive. I always had to defy social stereotypes because I wanted to do things my way. And as I said, being low in privileges always pushes you to push back. That gives you a lot of strength, a lot of endurance, a lot of psychological and emotional resilience. And they say that what makes you stronger, it's the thing that it's not killing you. But my case proved that sentence wrong. My superpower was to care about people, was to be focused around people's needs and goals and desires. And this is exactly what almost got me killed. I remember the day before my accident when my body fully shut down. I remember my conversations with people around myself when I said that I'm too tired to be the everyday hero now. I need to step up and try to explore my life in new roles in new ways. And people were defying that. They didn't want to take responsibility for their lives or their businesses, even at home with my family. I had that conversation with them as well. It was very, very cold October day when I felt my body completely shutting down. And I remember the struggle of my doctors in the ER, the struggle after the operation to bring my body back to life because my body was so strong, so resilient that they couldn't detect what's going on with me. I was invisible even for them. When I woke up, I remember the warmth, the sun of the sunset. I was happy to be alive. And I remember my voice in my head telling me that my life is not to serve others anymore. I had that game. I won that game. I had the life I wanted to build. Now I had to learn to live the life I needed. And my life was for me. It was quite shocking for me to realize that I was so good at being the second that I was completely invisible to others. They didn't see me for who I really am. I mastered the art of coping in being my own hero, superhero, and never asked for help. So from hero, I became a complete zero in a blink of an eye, just like that, for a night. I had to regain my power. I had to completely restart and recharge my body, my emotions, my mind, my social and economic relations. From a hero to zero. I had nothing. I wasn't productive. But yet I tried and defied that story, that narrative. I couldn't realize why and how people are measuring who I am based on my achievement and numbers. I didn't have time to consider that. I only became aware of this reality of who other think I am after I had to say no to that productivity beyond the measurable. Despite the fact that I'm supporting people who recover from burnout for 15 years, I was so intended to help them see what I already experienced on my own. You're not a zero based on your performance. Peak performance shouldn't be measured in KPIs connected to numbers. This is something that I try to bring to awareness on a global level now when I work with leaders, with organizations. It's not a zero if you don't feel connected to who you are, to your own productivity, to your own body. I survived and I don't know why. I don't know why I had the chance to be trained and to have that very, very tough life before my accident that actually helped me become resilient. But a lesson learned, I say. I know that I didn't change entirely my personality. I still had to work hard to recover. I still had to defy other people's expectations on how fast or slow should I recover? How should I approach my business productivity? How should I approach my productivity back at home and my social environment? So when I came home, I realized that I live a borrowed time this time and I have very limited energy, emotional energy limited, cognitive energy limited, and psychologically, if you want. So I switched the narrative. I didn't want to live the life I wanted, like I used before, because I was happy with my life, to be honest. I didn't understand how invisible are the heroes before that tragedy happened to me. And I got lucky, probably because I have the training and the social and professional support network. I was able to recover and regain again faster compared to others. And now, when I talk to people that they need to work harder, they need to push back, they believe me because they know that even at the moment when you feel a complete zero measured by the societal norms and expectation, you aren't. You are something that I call being an ocean in a drop, which means that whatever you do, whatever you say, it should catch the essence of who you really are. Your ideas, your passion, your activity should serve first yourself. The hardest part of that from hero to zero perspective was that I I had to admit myself that most of the people that I was surrounding myself with were here to receive, not to give back. So I wasn't devastated by the accident itself. I reinvented myself so many times throughout this life. And I helped so many people reinvent themselves, define and reflecting the social etiquette, the social description of who they should be or how they should treat themselves. That wasn't the problem. I felt completely broke emotionally, physically, economically, socially, also in business settings, because once you disappear and you're not the hero anymore, people they don't give back. Most of them, a hard lesson to learn. So a hero should stop before they completely drain themselves. And I didn't realize that because I love my work, I love my mission, and I was passionate about my everyday life, my routine, my clients, my family. I got it. I told you that was one of the happiest moments of my life. Now I try to manage my energy better. I try to manage my clients' energy better because my story is their story. And if I am fully trained and still were invisible to myself to recognize the early moments that I'm completely draining out myself, What about people who aren't that trained, who don't have the frameworks, who don't know how to matter to themselves? So this is the difference right now. 3 years after the accident, I'm still the hero. I still save the day. I'm just allowing myself to step out this role and say, yes, people will push harder back when to say no, but you still have to put and set boundaries. People will hesitate when you say, I'm not going to help you today. I need to reset. I need to feel my body properly. I need to recharge. And sometimes I learn this lesson that whatever it comes with the price, you have to pay it in order to stay connected. I just don't want to feel drained to that extent where I simply can't enjoy my life. I want to enjoy the warmth, enjoy the weather, enjoy the social connections, enjoy my work. And when it comes to work harder part, what I actually mean when I say work harder, it's not put more efforts into be more productive in terms of what you achieve and how you strive in order to survive. I mean, work harder on that connection with yourself. And this is a lesson that I'm continuing to learn. And probably I will be till the very end of my life because being an ocean in a drop means that when you feel calm, when you feel productive, calm, and joyful with who you really are, you are able to be true hero to others. And my essence of this story is that 15 years ago, I said, you are the most important resource for your success and you matter. Now I was the only person available to say that to myself. And I know how powerful this is when you reconnect with yourself. So my story is about being connected to yourself. Always trust yourself because you matter.
That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today. It's really good to see a woman who has managed to find herself, reconnect with her essence, and is now empowering others to do the same. Now, I know that you say that you are your most important resource. Challenges the idea of external validation. Why is this message so vital for today?
When you try to understand what people are expecting from you in each and every role, for example, being a leader, being a female, being a caregiver, or just taking responsibility for others, you are tightening your and connecting your identity to others, which is great. The ultimate value and the ultimate judgment of your actions and what you do and what you say is given by others. And that's the objective reality. But think about the subjective reality, like in my story. I was happy to have the life I wanted. I was serving to others well. I was feeling that a mission. And by being driven by this mission, I completely forgot that at some point, I'm the missing part in my own story.
Mhm.
So I've been talking with so many women around the globe for the past 15 years. So I recognize that pattern faster. I had to admit to myself that I'm completely deleting my perspective of my subjective reality and not allowing myself to say, no, I don't want to be the superhero today, and to have and bear the consequences of that rejection. And if you're not connected to yourself, to your values, to your core, if you're not an ocean in a drop, I believe, get through it, and I hope that you will see my perspective here. It's so hard to say no and to push back and to work harder to strengthen that connection with yourself when you know you're not suggesting, you know that you're going to be excluded, you're going to be judged or labeled. It's
Mhm.
painful, but at some point you have to make a choice to stay with yourself or betray yourself. At some point, you can look at that question from that perspective. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So, how did you navigate the painful realization that some people in your circle were there only to receive and not to give back?
Probably because of my background and the fact that really didn't have enough time to throwing self pity parties. I didn't have enough time to judge them. I needed to admit my role, and it's something that I call extremely self ownership. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter you what happened to you or why it's happening to you. It's not our job always to have the big reasons. Sometimes you have a perspective looking back. So at that
Mm.
moment, I didn't know what's going on, to be honest. I didn't realize that it was painful to understand that sometimes, and I actually had this visual representation, and I use that to help other people see what I already had at that moment. That if you try to visualize a connection between two people as an act of giving a hug, then people like me who are warm, generous, genuinely connecting with others have very short arms, so they hold you tight. It was painful to understand that some people have very very long arms and that they hug you from a long distance. It
Mm.
is my fault that I didn't have both type of people. I was more pleased at that point to be the hero than to admit that even the superheroes need to be pampered and taken care of by someone else. So I didn't pay
Mhm.
attention. And because when you have this drive to help, you generally take good care of yourself. But sometimes you need more. You need more to be an ocean in a drop. You need other people's warmth and hug.
Mm. So many women identify as caretakers, nurturers, and fixers. How can they begin setting boundaries before reaching that point of collapse?
Well, my point of collapse were partially by accident and partially because I had some sort of long virus. So it's not because I was ill, for example.
Right.
And this is what actually helped me recover faster. I
Mm.
imagine in a situation when you're acknowledging that you are not taking a proper care of yourself for a very, very long time and you're
Yes.
coping with some illness, probably it's going to be harder to reconnect with yourself at that point.
Mm.
When you have this accidental aspect, you're ready to jump and to start over. You have different mindset, different level of energy. So
Mm.
if you feel that you are not living your life properly, I told you at that point I was happy with my life. I believed that I have the life I wanted. It was true.
Right.
It's still the true. I kept that part. I did it. Oh, I only had to add another dimension. I also need to live the life I need to live. And
Right.
it took me a while to understand the difference. I needed more warmth, more care, probably other female who are struggling to prove themselves worthy throughout their productivity and
Mm.
constant deliver should simply ask themselves where this comes from a self-worth place or a place they need to do stuff in order to feel worthy enough.
Mm.
Probably that's a good starting point because I knew for myself at that point I wasn't disconnected from myself on personal level. I was disconnected on social level. That's the big difference, I believe. And
Yeah.
also it helped me recover because I never wanted to disconnect from myself completely. Even the fact that I was able to admit that I'm transparent and invisible because I never let other people to actually see how exhausted am I.
Mm.
This is another
Mm.
perspective as well. Adding a layer here.
So you said that you had to switch the narrative to live not the life that you wanted, but the life one that you needed. How did you redefine what a meaningful life looks like after this experience?
Before the experience, I had a clear vision, which means that I probably lived by some standard that I had to push myself chasing. Probably because I needed to strive to survive in order to strive. After the accident, I don't have the answer, but I know how it feels to not live your life in a proper manner. You
Yeah.
completely feel like you are a shelf. Other people feel that you're okay, you're producing, you're effective, you're helping, you're useful. But you
Mm.
know that this is not who you are. You're still playing the role of hero. Probably it will take me some decade or even more time, probably the rest of my life, to push back the societal norms and expectations, to not go back to that mentality that I have to prove my worth in order to receive respect, appreciation, support, validation. Sometimes I don't have the answers. I just don't want to feel bad about myself. So I'm trying
Mm,
to be aware of my choices and to enjoy my decision making process itself. If I choose that, it's because this is me, an ocean, a drop, as I said.
yeah.
How does it sound as a solution? It's not exactly a solution, but a process of being aware while you are creating your solution that won't disconnect it from you. And this is what I'm learning myself to do day after day for the past 3 years.
That's wonderful. Now, you talk about working harder on your connection with yourself. What practical rituals or habits help you maintain that connection today?
I always try to remind myself after my incident that I'm constantly underestimating my physiology, my body, the physical manifestation of my energy. I try to keep focus on nurturing my body properly. And after the accident, properly looks a little more different compared to the days before the accident. So, fueling my body.
Mhm,
Also, I'm not pushing my mind to be constantly productive. I give myself time to experience reality, not only to overanalyze that reality. Also taking some time to reset emotionally. So I build a system around my entire body, being fully aware how and when I feel disconnected. And I remember that I have to have a little of that and a little of that every single day. Proper food, a laughter, a great conversation,
mm,
and I have a new measurement of my life and energy. Before, I was thinking that I have enormous amount of energy. That's still true. I still have it. I was ignorant around the fact that this energy is just borrowed time and energy.
mhm.
And if you're depleting it, even for good reasons like being helpful and being useful to others, you're still gonna deplete yourself. You're gonna
Yeah.
drain your
Sure.
cup out of water. So those small steps each and every day. Sometimes I need more in one domain than to
Mhm,
another. But when I start my day, I ask myself, what's my body energy today? From 1 to 10. Did I have enough energy to do proper training, to push myself, or I have to go to maintenance? Do I have enough energy to be creative and proactive, or I need to step back and be in more listening and observatory roles? I just rain check if I have to postpone actions. And this is
mhm,
how I do it. I don't have a recipe, get through to be honest. I'm just trying to figure out what means to be a human. I mean,
mm.
human body is organic. It's our systems that are constantly messing around, and we are not fully aware of that. But I know already that without being in constant check within your physical, emotional, and mental levels and dimensions, you are not going to be living your life the way you deserve to live it.
Yeah, that's so true. Now, one of the other things that you mentioned was being an ocean in a drop. Can you elaborate on what that concept means in your personal and professional life?
Imagine a moment when you are completely drained out. You don't have energy to stand up, to walk. For the 3 years after the accident, I had so many first times for so many things I can't even count. First
Mm,
time that when I walked, when I ran, when I rode a bicycle, I remember those very first new times in my life. The
mm,
idea of being in an ocean in a drop came clear to me because I couldn't deliver, be productive to serve my family. I couldn't do anything physically for them. I was just present. And my family, my friends, and close relatives told me, Same story. You don't have to do anything. We're just happy to have you here." And that was a brand new for me.
mhm,
Other people were celebrating me being here. They said, whenever you're smiling and making us laugh, that's also good enough. Whenever you cry and you're just completely shut it down, it's good enough. So this is how I develop this concept for myself. And how I translate that to others. Well, I told you, whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever you choose, it should have the essence of yourself. A drop that contains your entire value system, your motivation, your spiritual connection, but also your physical body and capabilities here and now. So, mindfulness.
Mm,
Being an ocean in a drop teach you to be mindful. Sometimes you can be a huge drop, like a cup, entire cup,
mm,
and sometimes only a small raindrop. Whatever it is, it's the best you can give. No toxic self perfection. Just accept that and enjoy being able to be even a drop. I hope that this can bring other people power, enough power from inside to say, no, I don't want to over deliver constantly in order to feel full like big ocean. Today I
mm,
have only a drop for you, and that's over. That's all I have, but it's for you.
mm. We have a comment coming in from LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us, Sebastian. Trauma of any kind leaves an imprint that becomes a work in progress for a long time, if not for the remaining of our life. Giving ourselves grace and being our own best ally is not just important but crucial. Listening to our body is a great way to understand what we need to do and when we need to pause. There is no
Yeah.
single recipe, it's an ongoing process. Thank you so much for joining us online. That is wonderful. So, my last question for you is really focused on if you could go back and give advice to your younger self, what three nuggets of wisdom would you give her based on what life has taught you up until this point?
I don't think that there is something that I would ever change in my life. I won't be able to step here and say you won't have the man, you won't have properly be yourself. I knew that before the accident. I still believe it. I knew that you have to trust yourself, your perceptions. I really struggled to connect my body and my mind in a way that my body felt safe enough. So I won't change a thing. I wouldn't be able to stand here and say, reconnect with your body. Stop being so intellectual and spiritual in a way that disconnects you from your present capabilities to cope with your reality, especially if you have some trauma or traumatic events in your life in the past or the present. This is going to definitely redefine how you perceive your reality. So take time, push back, work harder to change the way you perceive your reality. For me, it was life must be living in a way that allows you to survive in order to thrive. Well, that's a true thing, and unfortunately, it won't change for me as well. I still have to put a lot of efforts. I still have to be everyday hero, and to work harder. The difference here is that I just try to be more mindful and to live a life that actually brings a lot of meaning, even when I'm not producing anything, even if I'm not taking good care. I just keep reminding myself that I have the right to be joyful, just to be here. And this allows my body to feel safe. So the new thing that I developed based on my story is that now I feel not only trustful when it comes to my capabilities and skills to cope with reality, create goods, and help others, both in personal life and as business psychologist by helping other leaders, CEOs, and shapeshifters, the visionaries who actually transform our environment. The only change that I'm happy that I have, and I wouldn't be able to give myself as a device because I wouldn't be able to understand that, is to stay present. Because I didn't understand that I have the right just to feel joyful, just to enjoy my life. That I
Yeah.
have don't have to work to survive, but just to enjoy life. And many people out there don't have this privilege.
Yeah,
to feel joy,
that's
they need
true.
to work harder.
Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story. It's absolutely inspiring to see someone who's come out on the other side and living positively. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of people from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So tune in again tomorrow when I introduce yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And thanks again for the interview, Julika. Bye for now,
Thank
everybody. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Thank you.